We all want to feel peace in our lives. Peace in our choices, our beliefs, our relationships, and our environment. I've learned that this desired contentment is often found through holding on to less. When we pare down what we own, what we consume, and what we value, we're left with what's intentional, a personalized curation of what is important and true and useful to us. I'm Shannon Leyko, and you're listening to Paring Down, a podcast aimed at helping you declutter not only your home, but any area of your life that's overwhelming. Here, we're having interesting and honest conversations about the physical and mental clutter that drowns out what truly matters to each of us. And together, we'll learn how to pare it all down, not for the sake of perfection or becoming rigid, rather so we can move through life with less overwhelm and more joy, wisdom, and peace. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. If it is your first time listening, I am so thrilled that you're here. My solo episodes are always just like a little bit of manic energy because I'm just talking by myself in the closet. So if this is your first episode, I'm glad you're here because you're probably going to get to know me relatively well. And I am particularly excited about today's topic because it is one that I struggle with. So let me just put this out there. What I will be talking about today is really preaching to myself here. And we're talking about photographs and digital clutter, specifically photos on our phones, because I have a billion on my phone. And by a billion, I mean 59,000. I'm not kidding. So definitely not talking as an expert here today, but this is something that I've been wanting to take care of myself and I wanted to research myself. And so I'm just going to share the wealth of what I've been learning and thinking about doing because I obviously very badly need to. So if you want to go ahead and judge me for that many photos on my phone, judge away. I know who I am and we all have areas we need to improve on. Okay. All right. I am going to have a little bit of faith here, though, that I am not alone, that other people out there with pets and children just take a bajillion photos all the time because we think that our kids are so cute and we need every single angle of them sleeping. I feel like that's really when my photography took off, if you want to call it photography. That sounds way too fancy for what I do. I've always loved photos, though. I used to have my planner in middle school just covered with my friends' photos that I would print at CVS, pictures of us together. And then I would take, the clear packing tape and then make my own kind of version of a laminating something by putting tape over the planners. I know other people did that. Anyways, I've always loved pictures. Loved them. So then when you give me a phone that can take pictures instead of the digital camera that I used to carry around college all the time. I mean, hello, millennial. I know you guys remember those digital cameras. Anyway, so then you just give it on my phone and I'm going to go crazy. I can't help it. It's who I am. And so I had a lot of questions that I started thinking about on a deeper level as I was going through and preparing for this episode, not only about ways to declutter, but also why pictures are so important to begin with. So let's start there. We are going to be talking a little bit about managing printed photos as well. So if that's something that you came to today's episode to hear about, we will talk about how to organize and declutter printed photos. But the majority of this episode is going to be talking about the photos on our phones. And I want to start by giving some pretty crazy statistics as to kind of why photos are a big deal. I got these stats from lightstocking.com, but according to a survey by InfoTrends, the average person takes around 22 photos daily. According to 2023 data, the average user has around 2,000 photos on their smartphone. iOS users have 2,400 on average, and Android have about 1,900 on average. This is as of 2023. I don't know anybody with only 2,000 photos on their phone. I mean, you deserve an award. I have 59,000. So I think I'm really just really drawing up the average here. I have no idea what the real average is or the real median is, I would say, because clearly there are some people that don't take photos at all on their phone, and then there's people like me. And it's not just photos I take. We're talking screenshots. I happen to work in social media for another person, so I have lots of photos and videos on my phone from my job that I don't organize or really get rid of. So I don't really think that the 2,000 photos on average is super accurate. I mean, maybe it is. I mean, it was research. So, I mean, it's accurate, but also it's not a good depiction of how many photos people have on their phones in general, because I'm sure that the span between the 0 and the 59,000s like me is pretty massive, if that makes sense. Anyway, as of 2023, more photos were taken in the last 2 years, so from 21 to 2023, than in the entire history of photography before that. Facebook is the world's largest photo sharing platform with over 350 million photos uploaded daily. And then Instagram has over 95 million photos and videos being uploaded every single day. And it's predicted by 2030, around 2.3 trillion photos will be taken annually. So the reason I'm talking about decluttering photos today is because they're a big deal. They're a very prevalent part of pretty much all of our lives. And so as I was thinking about talking about this subject, I was like, well, I don't want to just go through and tell you the basic strategies of how to declutter, because like everything, I want to really pare down what's going on here. Like, what matters to us? Why is this a problem, or maybe not a problem to begin with? And let's dig a little deeper. So I want to talk about why we take photos. According to drgnews.com, the 5 main reasons people take photos, according to a poll that they administered, is 1, because we want to look back on a moment later. I think that makes sense. 2 is to take a photo of something unusual, something that we've never seen before. I think that speaks to nature type photos, sunsets. If you go on an adventure, like we went into a cave and I took pictures of the cool stalactites and stalagmites or whatever. 3, to show someone else something. 4, to post it on social media, let people have some insight into our lives. And 5, because there's a, quote, cuteness factor, which is obviously about kids and pets. And we just want to take a million pictures of them, which kind of feels a little bit similar to number 1, we want to look back on a moment later. But I think there's a little difference in that, sometimes I'm taking pictures of my kids and I'm just I need to do anything to preserve this. It's not even just about looking at it later in life. It's just I don't know. I feel like I need to engage somehow with their cuteness, and taking a photo allows me to do that. So these are some things I want us to think through, because just like we consume and buy and shop, maybe for physical items like clothing or kitchen appliances or water bottles or whatever it is that you're buying, part of living with less and going through life with this kind of decluttering mindset is to equally get rid of stuff as much as we consider what we're bringing in, so that we don't bring in unnecessary things that we're going to have to declutter later. So how do we apply that to pictures? For me, I have to really think through now before taking a photo. This is something that I've really put a lot of thought into in maybe the last couple of months, is what do I plan on doing with this photo? Before I pick up my phone and take a picture of my dogs doing something cute, or my kids doing something cute, or a beautiful sunset or something, what do I plan on doing with that picture? Do I plan on going back and looking at them? Is that something I ever do? I mean, sort of, kind of. I would say with the kids, I do look back in my phone sometimes at pictures from throughout the day or something. But as a whole, because I do family yearbooks, which I will share about later, I've started only taking pictures through the lens of, would I want to put this in my family yearbook? Because those are the pictures that I intentionally go back and look through and become hard copies, and they're things that I'm going to pass on to my kids. And so there's an intention there. But if it's just better served as a memory, if I'm not going to be able to capture in the photo what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing in the moment, it's really okay to let something be better served as a memory, right? When I go back and look at our photos from our road trip, we drove all the way from Alaska to Florida 2 summers ago. And I have some really, I guess, beautiful pictures of the Grand Canyon when we went there, or other historical kind of landmarks. But the only pictures I really care about are the ones that my kids are in. And even some of the ones my kids are in, I'm like, oh, that one's not as great as this other one, right? But in the moment, they all feel really important. But, maybe you're more into nature or kind of beautiful photos than I am, I guess. But I think that we have to really ask ourselves, is this better served as a memory? Am I just picking up my phone to take a photo because that's muscle memory at this point? That's what we do in the 21st century. Or is this really serving me? Because maybe we could really enjoy the moment a lot better without taking a picture or a video. We see memes about that all the time online of enjoy the moment. And I'm glad that I've been more intentional. The times that I have been intentional about when I'm going to take my phone out for a photo or a video, I'm always glad that I did it less, right? Like, so when I went to the Taylor Swift Eras tour last year, I told myself I am only going to take video of like a couple minutes, and I knew which songs. I was like, I know I love this song, and I know I want to get like Bad Blood because I didn't really know that ahead of time because I refused to watch all the videos on Instagram of her concert before I went. But that's also because I went to like one of her very first ones. I was in Tampa, so I think she'd only been on the road for like a month at that point. But as soon as I saw like fire going up for Bad Blood, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get some video of this because this is like super epic, right? But I did not take my phone out super often during that concert because I knew that I was going to be able to see footage of it all over Instagram anyway. So I just wanted a couple pictures, a couple videos to remember what the angle was from my seat, to prove that I was there, to remember what was around us, I guess. But I didn't need to video the whole dang concert, right? And so I am so glad that I really lived in the moment and just sang my little heart out with my husband, and we just had the best time, right? Another one I've kind of stopped doing is like, I realized our kids sing at church or they sing for school, and the most adorable little concerts for Christmas or for Easter, or just randomly on Wednesday nights. Our church sometimes have the kids get on stage and sing. And I used to always take pictures and videos of those experiences until I realized that I already have pictures and videos of my kids on the stage. I really don't need one from every single performance. It's better served as a memory. Like, it's more engaging for them to look out and just see me staring at them, smiling and clapping and whatever, than to smile at them behind my phone, right? And I'm not saying that it's bad to take pictures of your kids doing something, but if it's something that happens relatively often, then like maybe I just take pictures and a video like once a year when they're on a stage so I can see them at that age being cute. But I really don't need every single performance, right? Like, it's so cute at the time, but when you go back and watch videos of your kids singing on stage, first of all, do you actually do that? Because it's a big group of kids, and so you can zoom in on your kids, but it's really never that as cute via video. It like gets a little boring after 4 minutes of them singing some preschool song, right? So like, I just think it's important to like keep in mind, is this better served as a memory? Do I really need to document it? And then another question you can ask yourself is like, why am I so afraid to forget even the smallest memory? Like, I understand that taking a photo can be a really powerful way of preserving a relationship if somebody passes away, of preserving a period in time when your kids are little, or when you're with certain friends and have certain experiences. Great. I'm not saying that pictures are bad. Obviously, I have 59,000 of them. But I had to really think about this one. Like, why am I so afraid to forget even the smallest thing? So when I lost my mom when I was 24, I've shared about that before here on this podcast. Like, I don't have a billion photos of her for her legacy, or like for memories with her to live on. I have a fair amount, right? Like, she did a good job making family yearbooks herself with like 4x6 photos, nothing fancy like we have these days we can order online, and I have some photos on my phone from when she was alive, when I had an iPhone, or digital photos, I guess. I mean, not very much. She died in 2012, and that's the year I got my first iPhone. So I guess digital photos I have of her are mostly ones that I uploaded to Facebook from my digital camera in college and in high school. Not really in high school, because I didn't have Facebook in high school. So yeah, really just my college years. I have digital photos of my mom that I uploaded. And I'm glad I uploaded them, honestly, onto those social media platforms, because everything else in those digital cameras pretty much went to die, because either the camera broke or I lost it or whatever. And we'll get into that too, like the downside of digital photos versus printed photos. But anyway, the point is that I don't remember every single little detail of my mom's life and my memories with my mom, but I have really wonderful memories with my mom, right? Like, I remember the things that matter, and maybe there were some things that matter that I don't remember, but as a whole, it doesn't affect my love for my mom. It doesn't affect my ability to look back fondly at my relationship with my mom and growing up with her. And like, yes, I love photos. Of course, I love photos of me and my mom. I really do. But more importantly are the memories. And I just realized I just don't need every single moment she was alive for her to have mattered. And so I have to remember that too. Like, I don't need to record my kids every single day in every single moment for their lives to matter to me and to remember all the beautiful things about them, you know? And so getting to that root of like, why am I so afraid to forget the smallest memory? Like, there are people who went through their whole lives, you know, before 1860, I think, or whenever the first photograph, maybe that was the first colored photograph. But anyways, the point is like, it's very new that the average human has this much access to photographs, and people still loved each other deeply, still made beautiful memories and lived beautiful lives. Like, we do not have to document things for them to have happened. And one more thing to think about too, this is kind of crazy and maybe it won't surprise you, but according to a report by Exposure, people take 93 million selfies daily. Daily. So when you're thinking about why you're taking a photo, if it's a selfie, even more so, think about, why am I taking this, right? Like, am I trying to get attention where that's not really going to fill my cup? I don't care if you take a selfie and because you feel good, look good. I don't care. That's great. I want you to vibe with yourself and feel as beautiful as God made you to be. But taking a selfie is not going to bring you joy in life. And it's probably not even going to be what helps you find a husband, even if you want to put a cute one on a dating app. If you're looking for attention on the internet, that is not going to fill your cup. So if you're spending 5 hours a week taking a selfie, I don't think that you're like a lame and embarrassing person. I just think that maybe you should ask yourself some of these questions, because not only are you probably seeking attention in ways that won't benefit you in the long haul anyway, but you're also taking up a lot of space on your phone, okay? So let's talk about now, kind of practically, how do we declutter all of these photos that we have already taken? Maybe from this point forward, you can ask yourself some of those questions and be more intentional about taking photos. But if you're listening to this and if you're anything like me, before you've ever considered those deeper questions, you still have to go back and like wade through the mess. So I'm not going to be talking about backing up photos because I have a deep fear of technology. And I mean, I would just like buy a hard drive and call it a day. Like, if you want to make sure your photos don't die in oblivion, like so many of them do, because, you know, if your phone falling into the toilet or someone stealing your phone, or you don't have enough space on the cloud, and so when you get a new phone they don't transfer correctly or whatever, just like put them on a hard drive. If we're not talking about decluttering, that's just like backing up your photos. I should probably do that too. But here's an interesting stat. So 6 in 10 people almost never delete pictures and videos from any of their devices. That's me, pretty much, with 43% citing that the sentimental value attached to these files is the reason why. That surprises me. I feel like the reason I don't ever delete anything is because I just don't feel like taking the time to do it, right? Like, it's not that I think every single screenshot on my phone is important, or all the duplicates that I took trying to get one of my kids looking at the camera are as important as the one that I finally nailed. I think I just like don't want to go back and like look at all of them, right? But anyways, this says that sentimental value being attached is part of the problem too. But anyways, the point is that 60%, 6 in 10 people almost never delete pictures. And I would say that I squarely fall into that category. So let's talk about what types of photos to get rid of before we talk about like strategies for getting rid of them. This first one might be obvious, but duplicates. I know that there are apps that you can download and they will get rid of duplicates for you. I don't want to use one of those. And if you do, I think that's great because I mean, it's quick. But like, I want to choose the best of the duplicates, right? Like, if a robot is choosing a duplicate and then getting rid of the rest, I'm like, but you might not choose the one where his dimple looks the cutest, right? So for me, I'm going to be talking about doing things manually, not with like party trick apps, because I guess I'm a control freak. I don't know, but those are great, I'm sure. So duplicates. Screenshots are usually ones you can just get rid of. Memes, those are kind of falling into screenshots, but that you like send a friend or your husband if you're like me and just like live for annoying him at work with funny memes, or just like excess ones that don't add to your memory. So for me, this is a lot of like my sunset and Grand Canyon type pictures. Or like, do you need every character photo from the trip to Disney World? Like, your kid looks just as happy with Mickey as he does with Goofy. Like, you really probably don't need every single character picture that you took of your child. Just saying. So excess ones that just don't really add to the overall memory, we can get rid of. Those are the 4: duplicates, screenshots, memes, excess that don't add to the memory. All right, now for the part that you guys are waiting for. I have 2 strategies for decluttering photos on your phone that I think you will find manageable and helpful and not overwhelming. But the thing you have to accept is that this is not going to happen in one day, right? Like it's like anything, like getting in shape or even decluttering your house. I think the trap a lot of people fall into is like, I want this done now. I want this done yesterday. And when we can't do it in one fell swoop, then we kind of just give up altogether because you're like, oh, like this is just not how I want to spend my time, right? But if you take it little by little, corner by corner, shelf by shelf, closet by closet, or in this case, month by month or date by date, it's amazing what will add up. You just have to be kind of consistent about it and say, this is my overall goal. And I'm willing to wait a year. I'm willing to wait a month for the final results because in a year from now, I promise you're going to wish you had a decluttered phone just as much as you wish you had it now. I think about that all the time, even with like my goals for building muscle, right? Like some mornings I really just don't feel like waking up and going to CrossFit at 4 a.m., which I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. And then I'm like, you know what, Shannon? You are going to want muscle on your body as badly in 6 months from now as you do now. So just because you don't see it now, like think about you in 6 months from now. Like our desires, if they're important to us, really don't change. So might as well, because you're either going to wake up in 6 months from now with muscle or without muscle. You're going to wake up in your house a year from now with it not being decluttered or with it being decluttered. And so you get to choose that for your future self. It doesn't have to happen right this second for it to be worthwhile. The first is the 1-year plan. This one is the one I plan on starting. I'm going to start it on the 1st of April. It's my goal. Every night, just delete pictures from that same date on any years past on your phone. So let's say it's April 1st. Then you go back to April 1st on any years in your phone. I have 6 years of photos on my phone. I've somehow managed to keep all my photos intact digitally on my phone since 2018. I have some like sprinkled in there all the way back to like 2015 on my phone. I don't really know how they transferred and like there's like 6 from 1 year or something. I don't really know how it all works. But the point is generally speaking, I have about 6 years worth of photos on my phone. So what you can do, and this is on an iPhone, I don't really know how Androids work. I apologize. But if you go to like your photos into your library and like see all photos, on the bottom, you're going to see a couple different options. It says like months or days or whatever. I tried to like go in there and see if you can search by date and you can't. And I didn't want to have to like scroll back, even though if you scroll, it'll tell you what date you're on. It just seemed like a lot of work to me. So then I went to the little search bar in the bottom right. You guys, I went to the search bar and I typed in whatever the date was at the time. It was like, March 10th or something. And I just literally put March 10 in the search bar. And all of my photos that I've been taking on March 10th from any years past popped up in this one little like album box that you can open up and look at all your pictures from the past on March 10th. So that's how I plan on approaching it, is that like literally I will just go to my search bar, type in April 1, and then there's a little select button as you look at all the pictures you've ever taken on April 1 on any year. It's just April 1. And then just go through and delete any of the ones that don't bring you joy, that are duplicates, that are screenshots, that are memes, that are excess photos, right? Anything we just talked about. And it will take you maybe, with 6 years worth. On the date I looked up, I think there was like, 19 photos total. And on a crazy day, maybe there's going to be 70 total. But that sounds like a lot, but it's really not when you have 3 in a row. Like your screen shows 9 at a time. So you really just almost 10, right? So like you're looking at 7 scrolls and then tapping through 7 like grids of 9, essentially, to go through your photos on like even a heavier date that you might have taken a lot of pictures 1 year or something. And if you do that every night, it'll take you 5 minutes at most. And then by the end of the year, all the dates have gone through the calendar, especially if you're being mindful about what you're taking currently too, because of course, then in a year from now, you will have a year's worth of photos that you've taken that day. But you can delete even ones from the day that you are doing this, if that makes sense. So it's like April. I'm sorry, this is really confusing and hard to say out loud. I hope that you guys are understanding and following this visual. But if I'm looking at photos from April 1 on April 1st, That means I can also go through the pictures I took that very day and declutter. So theoretically, after 365 days on a non-leap year, then then you will have gone through your whole phone. Every single day is now completely decluttered for the last 6 years or however many years are on your phone. And you probably have less photos than I do and less years on your phone than I do. So I think it's a really cool approach. It's really manageable. I'm like, I can do that while watching TV. I just get in the habit of it, of like opening my phone, searching the date, and just like clicking through to delete some photos. And then I will be really happy in a year from now when it comes to digital clutter. Something that I think you should do while you do this, by the way, we'll talk about this more in a second when we talk about printed photos. But since you're going to be going through all of your old photos each night, favor the ones, put a little heart. Again, I don't know how Androids work, but if you have an iPhone, heart it, and that goes into a favorites album. Heart the ones that you feel would be beneficial to print in a family yearbook. If you know you want to start printing some albums and you're like, how do I go back to ones from 5 years ago and choose which ones to print? It's way too overwhelming. You can streamline that process as you're decluttering photos in your phone to begin with. You can heart the ones that you're like, oh, this one needs to make its way into a family album. I want that one printed. Heart it so that when you are done in a year from now, you can go back and more easily upload or print or however you're going to do your family yearbook based on the favorites album. You're just going to the album, and obviously the ones closer to the back are going to be all the ones from 2018, and then they're going to move into 2019, and you don't have to go through all the photos on your phone even though you've decluttered them. You're only going to be going through your favorites to upload into your family yearbook. So, you know, kill two birds with one stone here. Declutter photos and favorite them so you know which ones you want to print. Okay, the next is the 1 month plan, and this, again, it's based on having 6 years worth of photos on your phone, because that's what I have. So hopefully this would be even less for you, and you can get through it in even less than 30 days. But 6 years worth of photos, so that's 12 months a year. So 12 times 6 is 72. We're doing some math today, people. So on the iPhone, you can go on the bottom, one of the like if you go to all of your photos and see all photos, then you can choose months, and they will have all of your photos for each month, and you can scroll back as many years as you want, and they have an album for every single month of the year for every single year. So I have 72 month albums in my phone. So if you want to declutter your entire phone in just 30 days and in 1 month, so that's 72 divided by 30, and that's 2.4. I need to go through 2.4 month albums to be done. So basically 2 to 3 month albums a night, you'll be done decluttering in just 30 days, in just 1 month. So that's also a pretty reasonable way to do it if you just want it to happen faster. Again, it does require consistency for an entire month. It might take 10 minutes instead of the 3 minutes that it would take to do the year-long plan. But if you just click on your little thing, I would start at the very beginning, go all the way back to 2018, to January of 2018 or whatever that starts on your phone. It'll actually go faster than you think. Like, you can get through a month's worth of photos way quicker than you think you would, especially if you're not like me and you don't have 59,000 photos on your phone. Maybe you only have 20,000 photos on your phone. This goes quicker than you think it will. So yeah, that's the 1 month plan. It's different than just going through one date on your phone. You're going through 2 to 3 month albums per night on your phone. I hope those strategies sound manageable to you, because now we're going to dive into printed photographs and organizing those. So here's why I'm a proponent for printing pictures. This is taken from a photography blogger, Mike Yost, but he kind of explains everything that I have been thinking, which is that many photographs taken 6 to 7 years ago are stored on types of media that are no longer even supported, right? Like, people have boxes of floppy disks or and they don't even have a computer that works to view them anymore. I mean, we all know this when it comes to CDs, right? It's like most of us don't even have a way to play a CD anymore. So like, in 5 years or less, your DVD is going to be obsolete, and your USB drive will even be obsolete, right? Like, files are going to change, and technology of tomorrow may not support these older types of files. So to me, printing feels like the safest way to make sure that your stuff doesn't get lost in oblivion. Like I said, unless I uploaded photos to Facebook, I don't know what was on my my old computers or on my old digital cameras. And as much as I would like to say I'm going to go back and plug those things in, I do still have like one old computer, because I'm like, I'm going to go back because it has photos of Anderson, when my oldest son, when he was like 1. Because like I said, my phone has from 2018. So I don't have his first year, 2017. And I know I had uploaded and backed them up onto that computer. But it's like, come on, he's 6 years old now. And I still haven't gone through and gotten those. And those are like the most important photos to me. I mean, I have all of them printed, luckily, in a baby book, but they're printed. That's why I'm like, this is good. I've printed them. So at least I have them, right? But my point is that a lot of these photos get lost in oblivion. I have a friend who lost all of her photos of her kids before the age of 5 because she never printed them. And then I forget what happened, but her phone got stolen or she lost it or something. And she didn't print any of them. And the iCloud didn't back up correctly or whatever. And she doesn't have any pictures of her kids other than the ones that she uploaded online, which were not many. So, I just feel like printing, as much as it's funny, we think, oh, digital photos last forever because like prints can get wet or they can like die in a fire or whatever. I'm like, please, I still have all of my mom's photo albums from when she was in her 20s and she made some for herself, which I like love that for my mom. I still have albums from my like junior year ring dance or from summer camp that I printed at CVS, right? Those are the pictures I still have, not the ones that I took digitally on past phones or on digital cameras. Isn't that funny? So like, think about that. In theory, digital photos last forever, but more realistically, printed photos actually, I feel like, last longer. So the way that I approach it is that when it comes to getting things off your phone, we'll talk about printed photos that you already have that like maybe are a little bit older or like those summer camp pictures that I talked about or whatever. But in terms of getting things off your phone and printing them, I do a family yearbook and I use chat books. You can use Snapfish, you can use Shutterfly. There's any photo album place, basically. You can like upload your photos online into a book and they will print it and send it to you. I love chat books. I like the size and the look. They are a little bit more expensive, but I find it really easy. I just open the app and upload directly into the album, and then I can arrange the pictures to look how I want them to if I collage them or whatever. And I do those family yearbooks every single year, but it does cost because I use every single page. Basically, they have available in a book. The largest size they have is 366 pages. And I put like usually 2 to 4 pictures a page. So I'm probably making books with like 500 to 600 photos in them. Like I said, I love photos, right? We just want to declutter the best that we can, what feels good for us, and organize them in a way we can appreciate them. And so even though I do have tons of photos inside these albums, they are all very specifically chosen. I do captions for some, not for all of them. If I want to remember a place that we were or people that we might not remember their names or whatever, I want my kids to be able to look at them in 50 years and be given information about the photos that is cool, right? So I do some captions. So they're a little bit of a project, but it really only takes me, I don't know, like 12, 13 nights, because what I do is try and just upload one a month per night into an album. Like when it comes January, it's the beginning of a new year. So I'm doing the yearbook from the year before. I do like one month of the year before per night and collage them or whatever. And then after I do that for 12 nights and I have the whole year done, I will go back through the last night and add in little short captions. And then I press order. But like I said, it's expensive, $250, because I use every single page, like their biggest book that they have, and hardcovers because I'm bougie like that. So if you don't want to spend $250 on a family yearbook, which I completely understand, or if you can't, then let's talk about other ways you can print and keep your photos that cost a lot less money. So if you're doing 500 photos like me, so if you're just like a photo freak, you can print 4x6s for 10 cents on Snapfish right now. Just look up how much do 4x6s cost, and you can pick the application that has the cheapest one available. So at the time that I was Googling this yesterday, Snapfish had 10 cents, but they actually had them for only 3 cents because they had a 65% sale going on. So you can usually find something like that too. But let's take it for the 10-cent value for every 4x6. So for 500 photos like me at 10 cents, that would be $50. And then I found an album for $23 on Amazon that holds 600 photos. So you're looking at $75 instead of $250 for 500 photographs for a family yearbook. Let's say you're a more reasonable person than I am, and you only want to print 200 photos from the year. That would be $20 to order the 10-cent 4x6s. And I found an album for $15 that holds 200 photos. And so that's $35. That's it for a family yearbook that you can pass down for generations, that your kids will enjoy when they're adults. All of that, $35 for 200 photos for the year. It's pretty good. I'm going to put those albums that I found in the show notes. So if you want to just like go see what albums would work for that different numbers or whatever, then you can afford, and you want to do the 4x6 ordering online situation, that'll be in the show notes. So now let's talk about prints that you already have, right? So what you need to do is gather them all in one place. You might have a bunch of different albums. You might just have like random boxes filled with loose photographs, all of that. Gather them into one place and take them all out. Now, I don't have the time. I didn't have the time to, when I was doing this with my own photos, like it just was not that important to me to categorize them perfectly, because it just like took way too much work. I just couldn't do it, right? Like it was just too many. And so I think that's a normal experience. And I don't want that to stall you from organizing and appreciating your photos and just keeping them in boxes because you're like, this is just too much. And so you can do what I did. I did gather them all in one place. I took them all out of separate albums, which sounds crazy, but I wanted to consolidate them into large albums. So I didn't have to like carry all these little photo albums around in like one big tote. Like that's just a pain in the butt. It's way more fun to have all your photos in one place. So I will again link the giant photo albums. I don't know. I think they hold like 1,000 photos or something crazy. Maybe only 500. I don't know, but they're beautiful. I really like the look of them. And I transferred all of my photographs into these albums. But of course, I did declutter them. You don't need every single photo from ring dance in high school or from summer camp or from that trip you took with friends to Ireland or whatever it is that you have printed out. So, go through and declutter. And I generally tried to categorize. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to put all pictures of when I did a pageant or something in this pile because, I was Miss New York and in the Miss America organization. So I had a lot of printed pictures from when I was younger and competed in like 2008 or those kinds of years, maybe a little earlier. Okay, summer camp pictures are going to go over here. Prom pictures are going to go over here. Photos of my mom's are going to go over here. Photos of Aaron's parents are going to go over here because, anything that we had already accumulated from our parents, right? And so I kind of categorized them, and I definitely decluttered and went through like, Aaron had, and I both, right? Like we had a ton of like selfies with our friends from like a random disposable camera that you would take into high school or something, maybe on the last day of school, right? Like going through those and like really decluttering and saying that was fun. That's a fun memory, but I don't need a picture of me and that girl like 3 different times, right? So declutter those pictures the best that you can. And then what I did is just to put them all in the album in no rhyme or reason at all. I wasn't like trying to do this in chronological order. I mostly did the categories that I had kind of like loosely laid out in piles around me. But if I missed one or whatever, I just like put it in the album wherever it was available at that time. And I'm not too worried about it. I really am not. Like, I feel like when we go and look through old photos, we don't need them to be like perfectly organized for them to be enjoyable. We just don't want duplicates, and we just don't want ones that don't really matter, right? And so that's mainly what I decluttered. I was like, oh, I already have this picture. I've already seen this one. I know that I have another copy of it because, you used to be able to print like doubles of things. That was like a whole thing. So I'm like, definitely had printed doubles many times. Like, what was I going to do with the double? I don't know. But, so I would just say like, take it easy on yourself. You don't have to make it perfect for it to be functional. And then my next step that I haven't done yet, because I'm like, okay, Shannon, you are in a very busy stage of life, because I was getting down on myself for not having done this. I'm like, this can happen when your kids are in middle school or high school, or just randomly when you have some time, is I like albums that have area for you to write a little caption. So the ones that are linked all have areas for you to write. And I need to go through and like write next to these photos, like what they are and who they are and that kind of thing, right? So I do plan on doing that. But again, it just doesn't have to be perfectly organized. I just like that they're now all in one place. Well, 2 places. I have these 2 beautiful albums that have every 4x6 that we have. Now, we also had 5x7s. So I have 2 smaller 5x7 albums. And I have 1 8x10 album, which not only holds random 8x10s that we have, like school photos or dance photos from when I'm little that my mom had, or, just random 8x10s, but also like we have like random panoramic photos or weird things that we printed. And so those are in that album too. So I have 4 albums. I have 2 4x6 albums, 2 5x7 albums, and 1 8x10 album. And that sounds like a lot, but it's only 5. And like we that's very manageable to look through. And so I don't have scattered photos everywhere that I'm not enjoying. Like, and my kids love to take those albums out and look at them because there's random printed pictures in there even that I ended up not using in their baby book, but I didn't want to like necessarily throw those photos away if they were really meaningful to me. So like there's pictures of them in there. They love looking at pictures of me when I'm little in there. They love looking at pictures of us from high school. And, there's some really, it's just fun and they're all over the place. And I think the kind of randomness and the like not perfectly organized nature of these just all-in-one albums make it even more fun to look at because you really never know what you're going to see on the next page. Okay, that was a lot of information. And I know that some of it was like a little hard to follow or like maybe too technical and hopefully not boring, but maybe a little boring. I don't know. But all I know is that I really hope that it helps you. I hope you walk away really thinking about living in the moment and when it is important to document and when it's not, knowing that it doesn't make you a bad person if you want to document things and document your children. Of course, that's great. I think it's beautiful that we live in the digital age that makes it easy for us to do that. But I think it's also important to kind of rein it in and be more intentional with the photos that we are taking. And I hope that it's helpful. One of those strategies, whether it's the year strategy or the month strategy, can break it down for you in a way that feels more manageable so you don't just feel paralyzed like you can't possibly do this. And I hope that the way that we talked about printing photos encourages you to do that in a way that makes sense for you so that you and your family can enjoy those photos because it really is so much fun to flip through hard copies. Like I'm not really sitting on my phone scrolling back through a million duplicates and screenshots and whatever to show my kids photos. Like it's the things that we really sit down and intentionally use as memory tools are hard copy photos. So I definitely encourage you to do that. But thanks for being here today. And I'm so grateful yet again that this idea for the podcast topic today came straight from you guys. So keep sending in ideas, keep asking me questions on Instagram, and I will cover everything as I see fit and as I possibly can here on the podcast. So have a wonderful rest of your week. You just listened to an episode of Paring Down with me, Shannon Leyko. If you enjoyed the show, it would mean the world if you can leave a review wherever you listen and share this episode with a friend. Those reviews really are what keeps a podcast on its feet for the long haul, and I will read every single one with a huge smile on my face, so thank you ahead of time. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe. Also, be sure to follow along on Instagram at Paring Down Podcast, where I offer lots of tips and inspiration for paring down, along with what's new here on the podcast. Till next time.